In My Hero Academia, the world is filled with people that have all sorts of strange and useful powers called quirks. Basically, quirks just sort of showed up one day in people, and there's no real explanation behind how quirks came to be in the first place. But pretty much what we're told throughout the story, or at least what's implied, is it doesn't actually matter how quirks came into existence. Horikoshi pretty much washes over the origins of quirks, and he says, hey, focus on the here and now. I'm a big fan of this because this is actually a really similar approach to the one taken by Robert Kirkman with The Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman's world is filled with zombies, so automatically you'd think that that show is about zombies. I mean, there's that and the fact that The Walking Dead is probably the biggest zombie franchise ever, with a 9-season-long show, a 4 or 5 season-long spin-off, and a comic that I believe is nearing 200 issues, and remember, to us, 200 doesn't sound all that crazy since My Hero is actually super close to the 200 chapter count as well, but you gotta remember that The Walking Dead comes out monthly, so that means it's been around for a long time. The point of what I'm trying to say is, because I'm not trying to talk about The Walking Dead forever, is that The Walking Dead isn't a show about zombies. It's a show about the characters in a world where zombies are a threat, and the ways that they have to deal with these things and each other and the new threats that spawn as a result of this environment. This is very similar to what My Hero Academia is, where we have a story in a world where something sort of just happened that gave people superpowers, but the series isn't about the superpowers themselves. The series is about the characters that have those powers and what they do as a result of having those powers, or even in Deku's case, not having those powers. That's part of why I love My Hero Academia so much, because it really is more of a character drama plus superpowers than it is a superpowered action comic. The issue is, though, as a result of it being a character drama and being a series based on comics and different manga and whatnot, that means that the bad guys have to be really bad. They've got to do some twisted stuff to get us to even flinch in this series. And even though My Hero has a few good bad guys, there's one type of bad guy that generally stands out whenever you see one on screen. These are the Noumu, who are artificial humans who serve the League of Villains. It isn't clear how these things came into existence, but in this video, we'll try to understand what the Noumu are, what their role in the story is, and most importantly, where they came from. Sorry for that long intro, but now that we've gotten everything set up, let's get in depth. So near the beginning of the story, we have this incident that the fandom and the world at large calls the USJ incident. The USJ incident was basically a situation where the League of Villains, a new group of bad guys intent on causing mayhem and destruction, snuck into a school function where our main characters and students would be training. Now, they didn't actually do this because they were here for the students. No, we actually find out from the leader of the League, Shigaraki, that they're here for one sole purpose: to kill the #1 hero, All Might. Now, if you've seen All Might, you know just how tough of a feat that this would be for anyone in the series that we've seen up until this point. Obviously, All Might isn't in his prime anymore and he's passed on his quirk to our main character Deku, but a bit of that power still remains inside of All Might, and with it, he's still ridiculously powerful. Like, powerful enough to basically one-shot any problem that we've seen him come up against until the USJ attack. So when we're faced with the question of how will the League take down this ridiculously powerful hero, Shigaraki offers us an answer, and that's when we see him, the Noumu. Basically, the explanation that we get is that Noumu is actually an artificial human who was experimented on and changed for the sole purpose of being as strong as All Might in his prime. Now, this is a good statement, but how exactly is this achieved? Because remember, in terms of power in the My Hero Academia universe, as far as we know, this is like a villain in DC Comics just showing up one day and saying, hey, we did a couple of things to this guy and now he's as strong as Superman. This puts us in a scenario where we really have to think, well, hey, if the villains are capable of making Noumu that are as strong as the strongest person in the series once, then it's likely that they'll be able to do that again, and that's a problem. So these things and their creators have to be taken out, and that's really why we have this large-scale villains versus heroes situation going on as a result of this invasion. Eventually, All Might defeats the Noumu in spectacular fashion, and we get some more information on it. We learn that the Noumu was once a normal person, but it got injected with DNA from 4 different people, and this likely caused it to change and morph into the creature that we see today. The Noumu from the beginning of the series has quirks like shock absorption to absorb hits from All Might, it has super regeneration to keep it from dying, and it has severely boosted strength and speed. Quite literally, it's like someone was just shopping for different abilities that they need to put into one being to defeat All Might, and that's exactly what they did. So what's going on here? Well, it seems that the Noumu start off as everyday people. These people make it to the League, whether they're kidnapped or they're scouted. They make it to the League and someone in the League, most likely All For One, says, hey, I'm gonna now inject you with all sorts of quirks and abilities and you'll become massively powerful and unique. However, you'll lose control of yourself and you'll be my puppet. Knowing All For One, he might not even tell them that second thing. He might just be telling people, hey, you're gonna get really strong as a result of this, and these people are unwittingly being controlled against their will. These enemies low-key are a big contradiction because quirks are supposed to make you special, right? I mean, if you had a superpower that was different from everyone else's, you'd feel special too. The Noumus, though, have multiple superpowers, but it's ironic that by having more of these quirks or individualities than other characters, they actually become less of an individual themselves, and eventually, they degrade into mindless zombies. What I'm trying to get at is, on a narrative level, Noumu are our author's way of saying quirks aren't what make you special, you're what makes you special, because having more quirks doesn't make you more special, it twists you. In the best case, you could become like All For One, a twisted sociopath with evil intentions, but in the worst case, you can become like the Noumu and completely lose sight of yourself. This is actually the first part of my answer on what are Noumu. Noumu are creatures created by our author to not only serve as additional support to our villains in the story, but they also exist as narrative constructs to push forward the idea that what's special comes from inside of you and our heroes, not the quirks that they have. The quirks are a means for our characters to show off that individuality, but trying to hoard quirks spits in the face of that, and there are punishments in story for it. For a more in-story answer though, Noumu are artificially made humans that are injected with other people's quirks. It isn't clear at this time if All For One is the one giving the quirks to these Noumu or if it's someone else. In another video that I'm releasing this week, I theorized that it might be another character that we've seen that actually develops and creates the various Noumu that we see in the series. Keep in mind, we do know that these Noumu can be made rather quickly, and they can also be made to meet specific requests, like the Chainsaw Noumu that Dabi requested in the Forest training arc. So it'll definitely be interesting to discuss once we finally get an answer on the origins of the Noumu. Thankfully, our author has told us in the My Hero Academia Volume 7 extras that he plans on going deeper into the story of the Noumu at some point, but he wants to leave it a mystery for now. Due to that, there's only so much that can be explained in this video, but I hope that I was able to give you some sort of understanding on what the Noumu are, where they come from, why they exist in our story, and what they're capable of. If I did, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button to see my future videos. If you want to become a part of the cool League of Notifications, hit that bell icon and you'll get a little notification whenever I upload, so there's no way that you'll miss any of my videos. This week, we're bound to see where all the Noumu are hidden when they're not on a mission, so make sure to pay close attention to Deku and the Bakugo rescue team's actions this week. That's it for me though, guys. I'm excited to see what you guys think, so jump in that comment section below. It's actually getting really hard for me to keep up with all the comments like I usually do, since there's literally hundreds of comments coming in by the hour, and I usually just set like an hour or two a day for just reading and responding to comments. I'm still gonna keep doing that, but I'm sorry if I don't get through all the comments, even though it's probably impossible. I'm still gonna try to make sure that I'm there as long as you guys are active, so keep those comments coming. Thanks so much for the love, guys. I'm gonna go work on another awesome video for y'all, so I'll be seeing you later. This is Pineapple. Peace.